So, I want to begin with a story. So when I was a child, during the summer months, on evenings that were warm enough to be outside, my grandfather would take me by the hand and he would walk me down to the local park. It wasn't a fancy place. It was just a piece of grass and some trees around it. But this was a place where the community gathered, where neighbors brought coffee, where children chased one another, and where elders traded stories together. I remember those evenings for the warmth, and not the warmth because of the summer air, but because of the warmth and the sense of belonging. We knew each other's name. We looked out for one another. And in that humbling gathering place, I felt safe, I felt connected, and part of something far larger than myself. And then always at the end of the evening, my grandfather would take me by the hand, sometimes kicking and screaming because I was having so much fun, and we'd return to our house where we would sit outside and eat our evening meal together with our friends and our family. Looking back on that when I was a child, I realized that the feeling that I remember was not about the people alone. It was about the space that held us. It was a home, a neighborhood, and a community designed in a way that made connection natural. That is the feeling of home that has stayed with me. Not just knowing names, but having a place that creates safety and belonging. Now, as the kingdom is advancing at an unimaginable pace and with a boldness that creates opportunities from a new sense of belonging, I keep asking myself the question, will our new cities and developments still create that sense of belonging and connection that I experienced as a boy? Or will it build these magnificent skyscrapers only to find that something is missing, that sense of belonging? So this really brings us to this uncomfortable truth. Around the world, and certainly here in the kingdom, real estate developments have often been about scale, about speed, and about spectacle. We celebrate these record-breaking skyscrapers and massive housing projects, as we should do. Saudi Arabia itself, of course, is under Vision 2030, has ignited a real estate boom. Home ownership is rising, now at 63%, close to the 70% target. The kingdom needs more than 1.2 million new homes by 2030. This number is staggering, and it reflects something very powerful: the scale of the kingdom's growth and aspirations of its people. And Saudi Arabia already doing great things with respect to this. Vision 2030 has mobilized capital, ambition, and the capability at a pace that few other countries can actually manage. And yet, this scale also creates a rare opportunity. This is an opportunity not just to build more, but to actually build better, to ensure that rapid growth strengthens quality of life, sustainability, and long-term value. Because history actually shows us that when growth is pursued without intentions, then cities end up rich in concrete and steel, but poor in resilience, belonging, and a soul. So the question in front of us is not whether Saudi Arabia will grow. It will, that is for sure. The question is how deliberately we choose to shape that growth. We face tension between quality and quantity, between building more and building right. After all, a city that isn't sustainable won't thrive in the future. A neighborhood without a soul and without a community isn't truly a home. The real question is not whether we build bigger or faster or taller. The question is whether we choose to do so in a way that is sustainable, resilient, and deeply human. Because growth and quality of life are not opposites. So with the right intent and design, we can build at unprecedented scale and speed, while still creating places with purpose and with belonging. But the belief that ambition and responsibility can advance together, it must sit at the heart of any vision. The good news? Well, Saudi Arabia today is embracing a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to chart a different course, to redefine what real estate development means in the 21st century. We're not burdened like many other cities and countries around the world by old infrastructure and old ways of doing things. What we can do is leapfrog beyond that with new technologies and new ways of building cities. Imagine if we leverage those 1.2 million homes and instead think about them as 1.2 million opportunities, chances to create communities that are vibrant, inclusive, and sustainable from the ground up. Instead of copying last century's playbook, we're seizing this opportunity to design a new generation of cities that honor our traditions, community, and hospitality while embracing innovation and sustainability. This isn't something new, and Saudi Arabia can lead a new era of real estate, not just by the amazing quantity and size, but also by the quality of life it delivers to the people and the resilience it delivers to the planet. And to do this, we need to reframe the model of thriving real estate. Like a good consultant, I'd like to introduce a framework. Let's call this the 3 pillars of future-ready development. This is efficiency, this is resiliency, and this is about being human-centric and connected. These 3 priorities can guide us in every project, in every single house, in every development, and every city. So, let's talk about efficiency. What do I mean by that? Put simply, I mean that we use energy and water in an efficient and respectful way. This isn't just about saving the planet. I'm not here to hug trees. This is also about economic sense. We often hear worries that sustainability is more expensive and that buildings we won't be able to afford. But the research that I've been involved with, together with my colleagues, when we look at mega projects in the kingdom, tells that over 48% of those potential emissions and that efficiency can actually be achieved with established technology at very little or marginal cost. In other words, nearly half of the sustainable improvements basically pay for themselves. I think that's an incredible opportunity for a positive impact both on the bottom line and also for our planet. Efficient buildings, on average, consume 25% less energy. That's 25% off utility bills. They also use around 11% less water, and less water is crucial for us in this region. And over a building's lifetime, those savings are enormous for those homeowners, for businesses, and of course for the country's utilities. Effectively, an energy-efficient home isn't just greener, it's also economically beneficial. Let me give you a couple of examples of this. In our region, as we all know, cooling is often the most and the biggest energy drain, but solutions exist. For instance, district cooling, where you circulate chilled water to multiple buildings, can be up to 50% more efficient than those individual air-conditioned units that stand on the side of your houses, on the tops of roofs. Imagine that, a new housing develop in Riyadh or in Jeddah, where instead of hundreds of these individual units, we actually have one system that serves a large space. Residents still will stay cool in July, but the energy use, and importantly, the cost, is dramatically lower. As I said, efficiency is not just about saving the planet, it's also about economics. And sometimes it's cheaper than you think. Take, for example, what we describe as passive cooling. This is the way that you orientate a building, or the way that you use green and use trees to actually cool certain areas. In short, efficiency can align with profit, and energy efficiency is not purely a return on investment this year, but a return on investment for many years to come. Now, the third topic is around resilience. What do I mean by resilience? I mean that buildings, communities built to withstand the challenges of the future, from climate change to rapid urbanization shock. We all know that our region is exposed to extreme conditions, heat, water scarcity, in some cases, occasional floods. And as the climate changes, these stresses are only going to intensify. And if we ignore them now, the costs later down the road are going to be substantially more. To cite a sobering report, it's found that physical climate risk, if unaddressed, is going to knock off at least 28% of real estate value worldwide if we fail to adapt to what is coming our way. And therefore, resilient construction is not a luxury. I would say that it's an absolute necessity to protect those $1 trillion worth of investments that you and this country are putting into the future. This wonderful skyscraper that we built, or coastal resorts we build today, must be able to survive what the future lays out for us. So what does resilience look like in practice? On a practical level, this is about making sure that we design for the worst case scenarios. Those 50-year heat fluctuations, those floods that we see coming in the city, making sure that we are ready for those situations. Critically, this resilience is not only about avoiding losses, it's also about creating value. A property can weather a storm, is more attractive to owners and to investors than one that isn't. One international survey found that 94% of investors are actively looking for those developments that have taken this resilience topic in the heart of their design. And 50% of those are saying that we're not going to invest unless this resilience topic is in place. So that's the investment. But even if we go to insurance, because you have resilience at the core of your strategy, you're able to access cheaper insurance and, of course, later down the line, avoid costly. If we look beyond climate, there's also about the resilience of our economies within the communities that we live in. A mixed-use neighborhood that isn't dependent on a single industry is more economically resilient. If we take public health, a building that is designed with good airflow and healthy materials is far more resilient to health crises, as we found during the pandemic. Now let's talk about this third pillar, and I would dare to say one of the most important things, and that is the idea of human-centric design and connectivity. Ultimately, a city is successful not when its buildings are shiny, but when its people are happy, healthy, and feel that they belong. We must never lose sight of this, that real estate is also about the lives and about the communities that it holds. So what does a human-centric approach actually mean? Well, it means planning our cities and developing around how people actually live, what they need and what they cherish. So connection, convenience, culture, and care. It's buildings and cities that are designed for people and not for cars. Because if you design for cars, guess what? You get cars. If you design for people, then you will get people and communities. It's those walkable streets shaded by trees, the playground and that public square in a housing estate, the corner grocery within walking distance, and that housing design that allows extended families to actually live comfortably together. It's also about those less tangible things, a sense of safety, of beauty, of cultural identity in the architecture that makes people proud of where they live. Now, let's talk about connection, and specifically, we've all witnessed during COVID how isolation and how much humans actually crave connection. Loneliness isn't just unpleasant for us, it's actually a serious public health challenge. And studies have shown, and this one surprises me, that isolation can be as harmful to health as smoking and also obesity. And on the flip side of this, strong social networks help people live longer. This is where the concept of blue zones come in, which I'm sure many of you have already heard of. But this is where people continuously live to their 90s and well into their hundreds with good health. Places like Okinawa in Japan, in Sardinia in Italy, and also Loma Linda in California. Researchers found that while diet and exercise were crucial, that the longevity hotspots rely upon social connection. People in blue zones live longer and happier lives because they're connected and they're surrounded by strong relationships. They walk to a neighbor's house. They bump into friends on their way to the local temple. Their life is designed to be active and communal, not isolated in a car or sitting behind compound walls. So if we design our communities in Saudi Arabia to encourage this kinds of daily interactions, a chat with the shopkeeper, a stroll with a friend, a public bench under some trees where elderly people can watch the world go by, where we're not just creating pleasant places, we're actually potentially creating long-lived and also healthier populations. Designing for people also means designing for inclusiveness. A thriving city is where everyone, young, old, rich, poor, working class, can find opportunity and comfort. Affordability and social diversity must be part of this human-centric design. A people-first approach will include mixed-income housing, option for young families, and for seniors for different needs. It will include accessible public transport for those people who can't drive or can't afford to drive. And it means thinking about the social fabric. Do our developments encourage people of different backgrounds to mix and share spaces together? Or do they segregate and isolate? I think we want the former if we want this people-centric approach. And crucially, human-centric design is also good for business and investors in the long run. Livable cities attract talent, tourism, and innovation. And there's a reason why companies flock to these locations. This is for the quality of life, and it boosts the economy. People will pay to live in places that offer connection and convenience. And walkable, transit-orientated developments see higher and more stable property values. So if we build with people's happiness in mind, the market rewards are high. High livability correlates with high economic vitality. And Saudi Arabia already has some of these things to be proud of. Take, for example, King Abdullah Financial District, which has gone far beyond just building skyscrapers and office blocks. This is about an integrated environment where water conservation, where clean energy, and also designed for public interaction. So, what is the cost of ignoring this? I think it's worth asking that question. If we ignore this efficiency and sustainability topic, we might build these gleaming towers that become energy guzzlers, burdening our power grids, driving up emissions and utility costs for decades to come. The results? Perhaps great short-term gains for developers, but long-term pain for society and for decades to come. If we ignore resilience, we could be putting up beautiful developments that 10 years from now or 20 years from now buckle under those intense rising temperatures, those flash floods that I've talked about. We'd also be gambling with people's lives. And if we ignore the human factor, we might end up with these beautiful cities that look impressive in brochures, but they fail to really the reality test. We may find places where mental health issues rise due to isolation, where the youth feel unconnected and search for other places to explore, and where cultural heritage and identity are lost in a forest of glass and in steel. And history gives us plenty of those examples. We've seen ghost cities in other countries, built in a rush without the understanding of real community needs. Those places are now eerily empty. We've seen cities smoked by smog and traffic because of planning prioritized cars over people. And we've seen social unrest happen when we see shiny new developments sit next to areas of unreserved slums, essentially communities built for the few and not for the many. And in a rapidly urbanizing region like ours, where millions of young people will move to cities and new built areas on the horizon, the risk of not putting people at the center of that is we create problems faster than we're able to solve them. The point is, ignoring these factors is far costlier in the future than it is with addressing them right now. Either we pay up front by building right, or we pay later in retrofits, in losses, and in regrets. And some losses, like the erosion of community bonds or the extinction of cultural heritage, you can't put a price on this. So we must proceed with our eyes wide open. Every new project should consider the question, what if? So what if a 50-year storm hits this development? Will it hold? What if a child grows up in this neighborhood? Will they flourish? And what if energy prices spike or water grows scarce? Is this project ready? I think by asking those tough questions right now, we save ourselves from those crises and those challenges that we face later. There's an English expression that says, an ounce of investment now is worth a pound of cure. In real estate terms, do something about it now, and it is worth multi-millions in the future. So, standing here, excuse me. Okay, so standing here right now, I feel a profound sense of optimism. Yes, we've acknowledged that there are challenges, and yes, investments need to be made, but I do believe that Saudi Arabia is more than capable of answering them and leading the world by example. The theme of this conference here is around expanding horizons, and that's exactly what we can achieve if we expand our horizons beyond business as usual and embrace this holistic vision of development. Let's picture a day in Riyadh, for example, in 2040, inshallah. The city is thriving, and not just economically, though. We hope that too, but thriving in the fullest sense. The morning sun is glistening off those solar panels that are sitting on the rooftops. A family is sitting in an efficient modern villa that almost pays it for itself, its utility bills, with utility bills almost 20% lower than 10 years ago. Also, this resilient design of the city means that even as the summer temperatures climb, the streets are walkable. And thanks to those cooling green parks, those smart cooling systems, on the rare day of heavy rain, water absorbed and drained and put back into the system. And importantly, the city is human-centric. In this Imagine 2040 morning, you can see children walking safely down to the nearby school, an elderly couple walking together to the local mosque on pathways that are designed for comfort and for safety. We can imagine neighbors greeting each other at the local bakery. For me, this is a city that nurtures life. And such a vision is not fantasy. The seeds are already being planted right now by developers, by policymakers, by investors, and by the community leaders that are here with us building. We have the power to choose the path. It means that each new project that we touch, we're not just going to ask the question, how big or how fast, but also how sustainable, how resilient, and how inclusive. It means we measure success not only in square meters on return in investment in a year, but in lifetime value, economic, social, and environmental. And let me say this, we can build the world's next great cities here in Saudi Arabia. We can build them in a way that honors our grandparents and serves our grandchildren. And we can choose a future where our cities are a testament to human hope and ingenuity. Places that prove that we don't have to choose between growth and sustainability, or between development and community. We can have both if we have the courage to plan and act accordingly. Our horizon is broadening. What we do in the next years will ripple for generations. Let's make those ripples positive. Let's create neighborhoods that become blue zones of longevity and happiness for our citizens. Let's construct buildings that are so resilient and efficient that the world sends delegations here to learn from us, to see how a desert nation became a green pioneer. And let's ensure that every young family starting out can not only find an affordable home, but they can find a welcoming community in which to build their lives and thrive. I close now by circling back to my childhood memory. In my mind's eye, I still see that little park and those trees and the faces of those neighbors who felt like home. The physical place was simple, but the spirit of the place was powerful. And as we expand our horizons and build dazzling new environments, our task is to carry that spirit forward, to design places that foster connection with people at the center of it. Because in the end, real estate is not just about land and about buildings, it's about the lives lived and about the memories made within them. If we hold tight to that truth, then I am confident our real estate will truly thrive, not just in the balance sheets, but in the hearts of the people that are living there. And when the world looks at Saudi Arabia in 2030, 2040, and beyond, they won't just see how much we've built, they will see how well we've built it. They've built a future around sustainability, around resilience, and the deep human need of connection and belonging.